I just wanted to show you this. It's a little tricky one-handed, but all I'm doing to clean out my bin is I'm putting a handful at a time into this tray, and what that allows me to do is if there are any worms, it lets me to see them fairly easily, and then I put them back over here in the little harvesting tray that I made. I have food in there and there are more worms in there, but I've really don't have very many per handful to pick out. As you can see, there aren't many crawling around here. So I wanted to talk about one or two things I was thinking about before we end the video. Oh, this one has a little bit more in it. Let's see. The reason why you want to be sure that most of your worms have been collected and are out of your harvested compost is because you're going to have that compost not in a worm bin and you're no longer going to be feeding it. Now, you can hold them on the side if you have another bin or a container to keep your harvested castings in, to keep an eye on just in case you should leave anybody behind. There will be enough for, a few worms if you were to leave them in your castings to have something to eat yet. So it's not as if they'll starve, but you're not going to be continually feeding. So they will live for a while, but not for very long if you're not feeding them. The other thing is you never really want your worm castings, see how nice all this is? You never really want for your worm castings to dry out, because remember, there's other kind of soil life in here. So you always want to be sure. It doesn't have to be very damp. Like this is a little bit on the damp side. While it doesn't squeeze water out of it, it does hold its shape. And yes, there are still pieces of egg carton in there. I'm not worried about it. And some pieces of paper, because as I use this in my garden, it will decompose on its own. But this has been so much easier doing it this way, to get them to like trap into that smaller container, because I'm going through this fairly quickly and getting nice compost from it. So that was just another thing or two I wanted to say about when you're harvesting your worm castings. And I don't know, maybe I need stronger glasses. I still have not found any egg cases. I also have noticed that there were not any of the small worms on top of the lid today. So and I guess in a way that means that the balance of things has been put off a bit. Maybe they have stopped having cocoons. But these worms that I've been picking out have been different sizes, so I'm okay with that. See, just a few here and there that need to be picked out. I'll show you everything at the end when I'm done. Okay? Okay. We ended up with two nice kitchen basins filled with castings. I've put in egg carton, I ripped it up, some shredded paper, some coconut core, and here is the basket, the bin that has all the worms in it from today's harvest. And that's where I put the food. Make sure everybody's out. You can see them all going away from the light. And I will be sure to put a flashlight in the bin because once again, they're beginning a new home. So I don't want them, I don't want them coming around the house. I think part of the problem with the DIY bin was the holes in the bottom, and I'm going to show you that. I'm sorry if this video is getting a little bit long. I hope I can edit it enough to get it all in. Because the holes in the bottom of the DIY bins, some of the worms went through to the bottom and weren't able to come back up. So if you don't like to see dead worms, please turn away and I'll tell you when we're back to not seeing them again. I just want someone else to maybe learn from my mistake with that. Here is my DIY bin, and I did put more coconut coir in there. A couple guys traveling around, but this is what happened in the bottom bin. Look away if you don't want to see it. There are quite a few at the bottom, and this stinks. So they've been in there for a while. I'll be sure to rinse that out outside. So if anyone, oh, and there's some guys on the side. I don't know if they're dead or alive. They look like they're dead. I probably squished them putting the two things back together. But okay, you can look back. I'm gonna dump this whole bin into the new worm bin. Now I have to fix this all up because I forgot there was all that in the bottom, and I have to get these guys out of there. So while the harvesting using the container with the holes drilled in it did really well, I think the next time I do it, I will probably have a bin like this and not put holes in the bottom of it, because really I think it was a total of 3, maybe 4 weeks that they lived in there, the ones that I harvested, and I really don't think it would have needed holes, to be honest, because this big bin does not have holes. So that is one thing that I would change for the next time when I do harvest worms. Thanks for joining me today. If you liked today's video, give me a thumbs up. See you soon.